Welcome to Stories in Focus. My name is Elloluise Schoettler. I'm your storyteller host, and we're very glad that you're here today. We have a very special guest. I've wanted her to come for a long time to talk to us. She's from Baltimore, and her name is Gayle Danley, and she is a prize-winning slam poet. So, hi, Gayle.
Hey, Elloluise.
I'm really
glad we finally were able to make it happen.
Well, you were just over this way today. You're in Bethesda?
10 minutes away, Bethesda Elementary School with some fifth graders.
What were you doing?
Well, I was finishing up a residency that we started about 3 weeks ago, where I opened, in the cafeteria with an assembly with all the fifth graders, and then went into the classrooms, the individual language arts classrooms, and led them through a slam poetry workshop. So we finished up today with the parents coming out back to the cafeteria, but this time it was the kids' time to share with them.
Oh, were they telling this morning?
They were telling this morning.
Oh,
yes.
How do you feel? You're glowing, so it must have been pretty good.
It was real good, and it's a fine day when I get to see fifth graders coming from the very center of their hearts and sharing from there. That's a victory.
Well, it really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a little more about yourself, but I think in order to really not lose the train of thought, tell us about slam poetry and what you do to get those children talking to you out of their hearts.
Well, I guess the two are connected because slam was created, I think, to help people get to the bottom of themselves. It came out of the bars and the clubs in the middle of Chicago, 1980s, and this genius named Mark Smith was hosting a regular poetry reading, and people were way back in the back of the bar, and they were drinking and carrying on, and you had these poets on stage, spilling themselves wide open. So Mark had an idea that he would get the back of the bar involved by allowing them to score the poet. And so whether
always works to want to judge somebody, doesn't it?
Well, it worked for Mark Smith, and it worked for slam. So whether the poet was any good or not, the audience was right there, captivated because they had something to do. So this started with a really small group, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And now slam is huge, and it's still captivating.
It's worldwide.
It's worldwide.
What drew you to it?
I didn't have anything else to do.
Oh.
I didn't. I was working in Atlanta, my hometown, as a substitute teacher, and really just kind of wandering about, trying to figure out, I'm in my mid-20s. I finished graduate school at Syracuse, and just trying to figure out, how do I use who I am with who I want to be. So I knew that I was a good speaker. I knew I had something to say, but that was all I knew.
Yes, I do.
That's a large gap there.
Yeah.
And so I was dating a nice guy, and Willie took me out. He was a poet, and he took me out to an open mic poetry reading where the New Eurekan poets were performing, and they were on a tour for the week there in Atlanta, and one of their stops was this bookstore. So Willie said, let's go, and I said, okay.
Right.
What was I doing but subbing? And I went, and those four poets blew my head off. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could perform it like that. And a couple of nights later, they were performing at an open air festival, the Atlanta Arts Festival. And they opened the mic again after they had done their beautiful thing. And I got up there for the open mic, and it was also a slam, right? So picture this, Elloluise. I'm in my mid-20s, and I'm raw, and I'm wanting, and I'm real, and bleeding. And I get up there and I do this poem called "If I Were a Man, I'd Be a Good Man," you know?
Yeah.
And I did it, and the crowd went crazy for it. And,
Wonderful. Had you'd prepared for it, or did you just do it extemporaneously?
Oh, no. I had the poem was prepared. The
Right.
poem was on paper, but I had no idea that getting up there that night would shift the entire trajectory of my life.
No. But you took to it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took to me.
Because your delivery is staggering. I mean, when we won't get that today because you're going to be confined to your chair.
Yeah.
But when you're on stage, I remember a couple of years ago, you were doing a solo performance at Speakeasy downtown, and my husband and I came, and it just rocked us to our socks. I mean, we couldn't get over the energy and what you're able to put into your poems. We had not heard that before.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Thank goodness for slam, huh?
Yeah.
And I take that same energy and I don't try to tamp it down. I don't try to contain it. When I go into schools and I say, you know, to the children, look, you're beautiful too. Come on, let me hear it. Write your story down. Give me a little bit of it. Okay, now get up and say it and let me feel with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are they hesitant to do it, or what do you do to make them feel easy about doing it? Because they're doing it and they're going to be saying it in front of their contemporaries, and that's hard, I think, at 5th grade.
Yeah, but it's also hard to keep so much inside, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
You gotta pick your poison. Do I walk around with this weight pressing on me? I want to tell somebody that the reason I didn't come to school last Thursday is because my grandmother died, and I sure loved her. Man, oh man, we used to bake those sugar cookies together, and she would put too much sugar on them, but that's okay. I caught the sugar on my tongue, and I want to tell somebody. I don't have anybody to tell, so it's like this battle between, do I let it stay inside or do I tell it? And so I think I meet them right there. So I get up first,
Right.
and I share mine. I reveal my heart, my funny, my goofy, my poignant, you know. And then they're just bursting to say these things, and I just happen to be the lucky recipient. That's all.
That's beautiful, Gayle. I mean, that they must feel that you're going to receive it as open-hearted as you do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, because if you weren't, they wouldn't be offering.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting the teachers out of the way.
You mean out of the room?
No, just out of the way. Just because of these tragedies that we have faced as a nation.
Yes.
We have become very, very scared, very protective, and that all makes sense. But I'm coming into your school and I'm trying to give them an opportunity to speak, finally, to say these things and to not be restrained. And quite often, teachers are like, you know, shh, don't let him say that. Shh. You know,
They're
and
saying that to you or to the children?
wherever they can say it. And who can blame them, right?
Right,
Got
right.
a lot on the line.
Right, right.
You know?
Can you tell us, do you have a poem in your mind that would sort of give us an example of what you do?
Yeah, I got a lot of them. I have one in, it says, it's called Superhero. And it says, my husband and my husband's poet friends write lots of pretty poems about superheroes. Thor, and, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Gumby. I sit there in the crowd watching them go wild, stomping and clapping as if those poets have really, really said something. And then I feel lonely, which is strange. I guess it's because not only do I not know these superheroes, except for Wonder Woman, because she's, you know, got the big sexy hips and the cool bangles, but I don't necessarily need to know them. I'm going to give you my brief list of superheroes. Number 1, my Aunt Ruth, because her beige church pocketbook grew dollars, magic, that turned into my midnight steak and cheese, my college degree. Number 2, my Uncle Claude. 9 fingers, he left 1 in the army. 1 eyebrow, who needs 2, makes the best angel snow soft coconut cake in all of Georgia, means it when he tells his wife, Ernestine, go ahead and try to leave me. You can't. Because, see, I'm not going anywhere, Ernestine. I'm 50 years in this thing, and if you try to escape this, and why would you wanna? I'm gonna drag a dirty blanket beside you, baby girl, and I'm gonna sleep right there wherever you are. I am superhero number 3, my poodle Jocko. Because even when he got old and arthritic and could no longer hold his pee, Jocko never stopped waiting on my yellow school bus, 3:17 p.m. every day. Superhero number 4, me. Because when my daughter's father chose those street corners over me, I packed my daughter up in the back seat, strapped her in tight, and flew. No, I don't have a cape. I don't need one, can't afford the dry cleaning bill, but I became my daughter's superhero that night. Yeah, so my husband and his poet friends can keep their superheroes. I am going to stay right here on the ground, flying.
Thank you, Gayle. That really is a superhero who can stay on the ground and fly and fly that
You've
way.
had to stay on the ground
Yes.
and fly.
Yes. But, you know, what I'm thinking of is you deal in the real life, don't you?
Slam always does.
Did you, and you understood that from the first time you tipped your toe into it? You understood it was going to come out of the real life?
That's why I went from tipping a toe in to actually swimming. You know,
Just all the
embracing
way
it.
up
Oh yeah.
over your head, yeah.
Best therapy ever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If there's one poem that you could say, what do you think you would say is your favorite?
Of mine?
Yeah. Is your new one your favorite? Do you have an old one your favorite?
I'm scared, Elloluise, to write a favorite poem because I'm thinking I might put my pen down that day. What would be the reason to ever come back to the paper again if I wrote a favorite? But I mean, a favorite.
Just think on that.
Okay.
She's just told us that it's time for us to take a little break.
Okay.
But we will be back, and you'll stay with us, won't you? We're back. I know you've been anxious for us to come back, and here we are. Gayle, what kind of work are you doing? Where do you like to work?
All over. Wherever there is a need for honest expression and a willingness to do it, I like to be there. I do some prisons. I do some living rooms. I've kind of gone full circle with that. And you know what's really got me going lately, Elloluise? This whole people picking on people, you know, the whole bullying.
The bullying stuff, yeah, yeah.
Because I see some real opportunities there for this art form. And I think it's going to take just the right temperament and just the right heart to unlock some of our children.
How do you think you would do that? Have you done a poem that might speak to that?
Well, let's see. Let's see. That's a good question. How about this one?
Okay.
I have one, and it says, I'm just like you. When it's nighttime and a pack of boys walks up on me, just like you. I'm like you. I cross the street. I clutch my pocketbook to my side, and I start praying, please do not let these fellows follow me to the car. But this time, it's daylight, and I'm still scared. I'm at the Richmond, Virginia Juvenile Detention Center, sent here so I can show these 14 little cocoa-colored boys how to express themselves. I have a reputation. They say that if Gayle Danley cannot bring the feeling out of a group of boys, you might as well lock them up and swallow the key. Well, we'll see. Because after the guard had locked me behind 12 metal doors and had searched me from fro to toe, I just didn't know. He says, all right, sit down, fellas. After he went to get a line of orange uniforms, he said, sit down. This poetry lady gonna do a poem for y'all, and I dare one of y'all to move. I was so nervous. My knees were knocking like a pot of black-eyed peas, but I stood up, swallowed my scared, and did my poetry. Slowly, I saw these brown heads leaning into my words. I started with a funny poem about the librarian dude I used to date. They giggled. I came close. I did the poem about my mom, her death, her chemotherapy. Have you ever seen a boy cry? Have you ever seen a tear drip down a boy's face? I walked up real close to them, because I wanted them to know what a black woman smells like when she's not afraid anymore. I told them, pencil and paper tie. Come on, get them out, write it down. Security guard says, no, you've forgotten where you are, Gayle. These boys don't get pencils. Pencils are considered deadlier than guns. So I was finished. I grabbed my coat. I headed for the locked door. I saw a boy. Yo, Miss Gayle, can I talk to you a little bit in private? You know that poem you did about your mama dying? I felt it. My mama dying too. Yo, I sure wish I could go see her. And I asked him to write his mother a poem, because she would like that. And I remember where I am. I remember that our boys don't get pencils. They get guns. It didn't matter. I mean, The guard had already snatched him back in line behind another orange uniform, but that's the day I became this. It's not about me anymore, is it? It's about this word. It's about waking up every morning hoping that I say something that's going to change some boy's life. Hoping that this one time, a young man down in Virginia will finish his sentence.
Wow.
I had such an epiphany while I was sharing that.
What was
I've
that?
been doing that poem for years, Elloluise. As long as we keep putting the wrong things in our children's hands, things, a lot of TV, and I'm guilty of that too, a whole bunch of food, a whole bunch of, like Biden said, malarkey. As long as we keep filling their hands with that, instead of saying, talk to me. No. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. I'm here to listen. Then we might as well keep on ducking.
Do you think that we are really there to listen? I think that's part of the thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Some of us are.
Oh, no, I mean that,
Some
but
of
I
us.
didn't mean that as a personal thing, but that our children really listened to. Don't they have to swallow it a lot because nobody's there to hear it, even if they're with people?
And maybe that's the role of the artist. We have this ability to step in and out of our skin, to be self-conscious and then to say, you know what, it's not about me. It's about me going out and seeing, how can I use this art so that we can all be safe, so that we can all smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I heard that. I knew that poem. I've heard that poem before, and I felt or heard a change in the way that some of the words were changed. I think they came out a little different, and I thought, well, I'm enough in the process that I understand when artists are changing their work, you know, because they have something else they wanting to say. And I really appreciate your sharing that rather than just swallowing it, you know, and going on. Is there some place you had that insight with these boys in the prison? Is there some place else that you'd really like to see your work, that you'd really like to take your work? Some kind of place, not a city, not a place, but something you'd like for your work to do?
This is going to sound all sorts of cliche, but there's a lot of poetry out there, right? Everywhere we look, you know, there's some good stuff, and then there's some stuff that needs to be edited, stuff yet to be written. I want to see, not just me, but kind of us all move to a place where we're not afraid anymore of what words can do. I've been to a few schools after our big tragedy, right? And you know what I mean by that,
Yeah.
our big tragedy. And we're still bumbling. We're still trying to figure out how to talk about that, you know. And I wanna listen.
Well, death is verboten in our culture.
Because we don't die, right?
Right. But I think that's part of what's
Yeah.
hanging them up, hanging everybody up, because our culture's been cleansed. The stories that storytellers take into schools have been cleansed of death, animal or human. Do you experience that?
Not with my work. Thank goodness. Yay.
There's no way they
and that
can-
gets me in trouble sometimes,
I
right?
know,
Oh yeah,
I know,
oh yeah.
I
You
know.
know, here she comes. You know,
Right.
we love you here, but just don't do that death point. You know,
Right.
But you know, thank goodness, huh?
Well, do you think that that's an element of what's keeping the words back?
Yeah.
That's a big topic, and that's the topic, and we can't talk about it.
And we can't talk. Yeah, wow. Oh, yeah, it's like, you know, we all have experiences in common.
Right.
And, you know, like what to do with it, what to do with it. And I think that I've found at least a piece of the answer. I think that this writing and this sharing from the gut is a beautiful, beautiful tool for so much that hurts us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had an opportunity to work with students who've experienced something so tragic in their lives, you know, to come in and to be there afterwards to sort of draw the stories out?
All the time, but not like a mass, you know, like a mass tragedy. There was a time when Jesse Jackson was kind of being dispatched, you know, I'm still not sure what his official title is, but he would go maybe when there was a hostage to be picked up or something. I would love to be the, I don't know, the go-to, or just hold on, Miss Gayle is coming, you know, the first responder. Because I just believe, not so much in me, but I just believe in the process of writing it down and speaking it from the heart.
Well, because I think you definitely said there two things. Writing it down is one thing, but speaking it out is powerful. So you go for the speaking it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not just for children.
Mm-mm. That's for you too.
Yeah. 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 That for adults and for children.
Mm-hmm.
Would that quiet the bully, do you think?
It would sure help. It would certainly help. Think about the bullies in your life, right? Think about that bully when you were little Elloluise, right? And maybe you had no idea what was driving him. Maybe you didn't know when you were 5th grade that he was just hurting. He was hurting. And maybe you found out later, you know, his story, her story, right? What if you had known her story then? How would that have changed the way that you interacted, the way that you approached her then? So what I'm trying to do is get them to go in there. I'm going in and I'm saying, tell me now. And you don't have to tell me I'm the bully, but tell me your story and let's share these, because I think that there's a lot of power in compassion. And if you don't know my story.
That's true. That's true. Beautiful.
And that's what Slam does. And that's what I want to do. I want to keep doing that.
Well, I think you are doing it now. Yeah. I mean, that young man in the prison would even tell you, make some effort to tell you how your poem had touched him.
Aren't I lucky?
Yes. How did you feel when that happened to you?
Like, wow. Wow, God, look at, what have I done to deserve such honesty? You know, I'm not always honest. I lie too, you know? And so I just feel really, really blessed, and I feel like maybe there's a part of me that was created for this.
Well, then, I think you'll agree that's our blessing. And Gayle, I'm so glad you were here today. I hope you'll come back.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you for being here so that you could have this wonderful conversation with Gayle Danley. And it's www.gayledanley.com. And that'll be right here under us a little bit later. Come back. Watch for her.